That old nickel in your drawer might look dull, scratched, and ordinary until the weight, mint mark, and Monticello steps start telling a different story. The 1987 Jefferson nickel is the type of coin that disappears in plain sight. It does not look ancient. It does not have silver content. It does not carry a famous wartime composition. It looks like the kind of nickel you might find in a bankroll, a parking meter return slot, a vending machine tray, or an old jar of loose change. Most people would never stop to look at it for more than 1 second. But coin collectors do not look at nickels the same way ordinary people do. Imagine a collector opening a forgotten roll of nickels from the back of a desk drawer. The paper wrapper is old, the ends are slightly torn, and the coins inside have been sitting untouched for years. One by one, the nickels slide onto the table. Some are dark, some are scratched, some look dull and lifeless. Then a 1987 nickel appears with a cleaner surface and sharper detail than the others. At first, it is only a small difference. But in coin hunting, small differences can become big clues. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs about 5.00 grams and is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. That weight matters because if a coin weighs too much or too little, it can lead to questions. Is it damaged? Is it clipped? Was it struck on the wrong planchet? Or is something else happening that should not have happened at the mint? The front shows Thomas Jefferson, and the reverse shows Monticello, his historic home. For many viewers, Monticello is just a building on the back of a coin. But for Jefferson nickel collectors, Monticello is where the real investigation begins. The most important area is the steps at the base of the building. If those steps are weak, broken, or blurry, the coin may be ordinary. But if the steps are sharp, complete, and separated, collectors call it full steps, and that can make a high-grade nickel much more desirable. Now the collector from the drawer places the 1987 nickel under a light. The steps are checked first. Are they full? Are they broken? Are they sharp enough to stand out? Then the rim is inspected. The edge is checked. The coin is weighed. This is not just looking anymore. This is building a case. One possible error for a 1987 Jefferson nickel is an off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet is not correctly centered between the dies. Part of the design shifts, and a blank area may appear on the coin. If the date remains visible, collectors usually find the error more attractive because it can be identified clearly. Another possible error is a broad strike. This happens when the retaining collar does not hold the coin properly during striking. The metal spreads outward, and the nickel may look wider or flatter than normal. A broad strike can be visually powerful because the coin immediately looks different from ordinary examples. A clipped planchet is another error collectors check. It can look like a curved, missing section along the rim. But here is the warning. Not every missing piece is a mint error. A true clipped planchet happens before the coin is struck, when the blank is punched incorrectly from the metal strip. Damage after circulation is different. A struck-through error can also appear. Grease, dust, cloth, or tiny metal fragments may come between the die and the planchet during striking. This can cause weak letters, missing details, or strange flat areas on Jefferson's face, the date, or Monticello. On a 1987 nickel, even a small struck-through area can become interesting if the coin is otherwise clean and original. Collectors also search for die cracks and die chips. A die crack appears as a raised line on the coin, not a scratch cut into the surface. A die chip appears as a raised blob of metal. These marks come from damage to the die itself, and strong examples can make a coin more attractive to variety hunters. Now imagine the suspense building. The 1987 nickel from the roll is not cleaned. That is important. Cleaning can destroy original surfaces and reduce collector value. The coin is left exactly as it was found. The collector studies the light across the fields. The steps look unusually strong. The weight is normal. But near the reverse lettering, a raised line appears. Is it a die crack? Is it damage? That question is what keeps collectors searching. Condition is extremely important with Jefferson nickels. Most 1987 nickels were used in daily circulation. They were dropped, scratched, handled, and rolled in bags. A worn nickel is usually common. But a high-grade example with strong luster, clean surfaces, full steps, and a real mint error can become far more interesting. The 1987 Jefferson nickel teaches an important lesson. A modern coin can still be worth checking. Value does not always come from age. Sometimes it comes from strike quality, preservation, error type, and certification. If you find a 1987 Jefferson nickel, do not spend it immediately. Check the date. Look for a mint mark if present. Flip to Monticello and inspect the steps. Weigh the coin against 5.00 grams. Search for off-center strikes, broad strikes, clip planchets, struck through areas, die cracks, die chips, wrong planchet clues, and full steps. Most 1987 nickels are common, but the right one can become a serious collector discovery. The secret may not be loud. It may be hiding quietly in the steps of Monticello. The 1994 P. Jefferson nickel looks like a coin that should not surprise anyone. It is modern, familiar, and easy to overlook. It can sit in a cup holder, a change jar, a cash register drawer, or a roll from the bank without attracting any attention. But that tiny P mint mark near Jefferson's portrait tells us the coin came from the Philadelphia Mint. And for a collector, that small letter is the first clue. Imagine a coin hunter walking into a bank and asking for rolls of nickels. Not because every roll will contain treasure, but because one unusual piece can change the entire search. At home, the roll is opened and dozens of nickels spill out. Most are scratched, gray, and ordinary. Then a 1994 P appears with surfaces that look cleaner than the rest. The collector flips it over, and Monticello becomes the center of attention. A Jefferson nickel is not judged only by the date. It is judged by the strike, surface, errors, and especially the steps of Monticello. On the reverse, the steps under the building can be weak, broken, or incomplete. But when they're sharply separated and complete, collectors call the coin full steps. That detail can become very important in higher grades. A normal 1994 P. Jefferson nickel weighs 5.00 grams, has a plain edge, and is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. The weight is important because serious errors often show themselves through measurement. If the coin is too light, too heavy, too thin, too wide, or strangely shaped, collectors start asking questions. The 1994 P nickel can be interesting in more than one way. First, there are regular circulation strikes. These are the nickels most people find and change. Most are common, but high-grade full steps examples can stand out. Then there is the special 1994 P SMS issue, which is different from ordinary circulation coins. SMS coins were made with a special finish and are not the same as regular pocket change nickels. This matters because beginners sometimes confuse shiny coins with special strikes. A real SMS coin needs proper identification and authentication. Now the collector at the table takes the 1994 P nickel and studies it under magnification. The P mint mark is clear. Jefferson's portrait has light wear, but the reverse looks sharp. The steps are checked. One line is broken. Another looks complete. The collector turns the coin slightly, letting the light move across the building. Every tiny detail matters. One possible error to search for is an off-center strike. If the planchet was not properly aligned when struck, the design may be shifted. Part of the coin can be blank. A strong off-center error with the date and mint mark still visible becomes more desirable because the coin can be identified. Another possible error is a struck through error. This happens when something gets between the die and the planchet. Grease, cloth, dust, or small metal fragments. The result can be weak details, missing letters, or flat areas. On a 1994 P nickel, collectors should inspect Jefferson's face, the date, the P mint mark, the lettering, and Monticello. A broad strike can happen if the retaining collar fails. The coin may spread outward and appear wider than normal. Since Jefferson nickels have a plain edge, shape and diameter become important when checking for this kind of error. A clip planchet can appear as a curved missing section along the edge. Again, the key is knowing whether it happened before striking or after circulation. A true clip is a mint-made error. Random cuts or damage are not the same. Die cracks and die chips are also possible. A die crack appears as a raised line. A die chip appears as a raised lump. If one appears near Monticello, the date, or the lettering, the coin becomes more interesting visually. Then there is the rare possibility of a wrong planchet strike. If a 1994 P nickel was struck on a planchet mint for another denomination, the weight would not match the normal 5.00 grams. This type of error should always be professionally authenticated. Condition plays a huge role. A scratched, dull 1994 P nickel is usually common, but a coin with bright luster, clean surfaces, sharp steps, and a verified error can become much stronger. Never clean the coin. Cleaning creates unnatural surfaces and can destroy collector interest. The story of the 1994 P nickel is not about every example being rare. It is about careful inspection. One coin may be ordinary. Another may show full steps. Another may carry a minting error. Another may turn out to be a special strike. The difference is hidden in details that most people never check. If you find a 1994 P Jefferson nickel, inspect the P mint mark, Monticello, the steps, the rim, edge, weight, and surface. Search for full steps, off-center strikes, struck through details, clip planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, die chips, wrong planchet clues, or SMS-like features. Most 1994 P nickels are worth only face value in circulation. But the right example, high grade, full steps, SMS, or error certified, can become far more exciting than 5 cents. The 1974 Jefferson nickel belongs to a different America, an America of pay phones, diner counters, vending machines, gas stations, paper receipts, and coins moving constantly through daily life. A nickel in 1974 was not something people studied under a light. It was something they spent. It passed from pocket to cash register, from cash register to bankroll, from bankroll back into circulation. That is why a surviving 1974 nickel with strong condition or a real error can become interesting. Imagine a small metal cash box found in the back of an old family store. Inside are rubber bands, faded receipts, old tokens, and a few loose nickels. One of them is dated 1974. It looks normal, maybe slightly dull, with small marks from circulation. Most people would throw it into a coin jar, but a collector stops and turns it over. Monticello appears on the reverse, and the investigation begins. A normal 1974 Jefferson nickel weighs 5.00 grams, has a plain edge, and is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This is the standard Jefferson nickel composition. If the coin does not match the expected weight, something may be wrong. It could be damage, or it could point to a clipped planchet, wrong planchet, or other minting error. The most important visual detail on Jefferson nickels is often the steps of Monticello. A coin with weak steps may be ordinary, but a coin with clear, separated full steps can become much more desirable in high grade. Full steps show that the strike was sharp and the coin was preserved well. Many nickels do not have this detail clearly, especially after circulation. Now the collector from the cash box places the 1974 nickel under a lamp. The steps are checked first. They are not perfect, but parts are sharper than expected. The surface has natural tone. The coin has not been cleaned. Then the rim is examined. Something near the edge looks unusual. One possible error is an off-center strike. If the blank planchet was not correctly positioned, the design shifts to one side. Part of the coin may remain blank. If the date is still visible, collectors usually consider the error stronger. A broad strike is another possible error. This happens when the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the metal to spread outward. The coin may look wider or flatter than normal. On a nickel, this can be very noticeable when compared with a regular example. A clipped planchet may show a curved missing area along the rim. The error happens before the coin is struck, when the blank is punched incorrectly from the metal strip. Beginners must be careful, because damage after circulation can look similar. A true clip has mint-made signs. A struck through error can create weak details, missing areas, or unusual flat spots. Grease, cloth, dust, or metal fragments can block the die during the strike. On a 1974 nickel, look around Jefferson's portrait, the date, the lettering, and Monticello. Die cracks and die chips are also worth checking. A raised line may indicate a die crack. A raised blob may indicate a die chip. These details can make a coin more collectible, especially if they're dramatic and easy to see. A wrong planchet error is rare, but it is one of the most exciting possibilities. If a 1974 nickel was struck on the wrong blank, the weight, size, or thickness would not match the normal 5.00 grams. This kind of coin needs authentication because it can be confused with damage or alteration. The 1974 nickel story is powerful because it comes from ordinary circulation. It was not saved by most people. It was used. It was handled. It was dropped, rolled, and spent. That makes high-grade survivors harder to find than they may seem. A coin that kept strong luster, sharp steps, clean fields, and original surfaces can stand out immediately. But here is the important warning: do not clean it. A nickel may look dull, but cleaning does not create value. It usually destroys original surfaces. Collectors prefer natural coins, even if they have tone. A clean coin can lose much of its appeal. Back in the family store cash box, the collector separates the 1974 nickel from the rest. It may be common, it may be nothing, but the unusual rim, decent steps, and original surface make it worth saving. That is how coin hunting works, one small clue at a time. If you find a 1974 Jefferson nickel, check the date, weight, edge, rim, and Monticello steps. Look for full steps, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clip planchets struck through areas, die cracks, die chips, or wrong planchet clues. Compare the coin to a normal nickel and weigh it against 5.00 grams. Most 1974 nickels are common in circulated condition, but a rare 1974 Jefferson 5 cents error coin with the right minting mistake, strong condition, full steps detail, and certification can become a serious collector discovery.